the FanDuel World Fantasy Football Championship lineup review with the second place winner, Brian Jester, at Brian Jester FF on Twitter from Occupy Fantasy. What's going on, man? I am your host, Moose, at CFB_Moose. I am also with Occupy Fantasy, for those who don't know. And we'll be here for about another 45 minutes or so as I recap, Brian, our trip to the World Fantasy Football Championship hosted by FanDuel. Brian had 2 entries into this contest, so I was one of the lucky guests that he brought along with me. So we're going to share our experiences, things we did there. I'm going to try and preach as much as I can to Brian to try and qualify for another live final because, bro, that shit was lit. We'll talk about his different strategies as well, his strategy, some of the things going on there, and just some high-level stuff. Just shoot some stuff, shoot some shit, and get right into it. Brian, how are you? Are you back to normal now with time change and all that stuff?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, well, Puerto Rico was an hour ahead. The biggest thing was getting up Monday morning because our flight was at 7 a.m. in Puerto Rico. So the day after the event and the Luda concert. So yeah, it was definitely rough getting back to normal. I think I'm pretty good now. What about you? Are you back to normal?
For the most part, I just took like a 7-minute nap, and
Nice.
yeah, it was a nice little power nap that I needed.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. I took a huge nap yesterday. It was pretty good. So, what a week at Moose. It was a lot of fun. FanDuel put on an incredible event. Um, I guess for people who didn't see any of our content during, just to recap. So we had the Thursday night event where there were long games and open bar and watched the game and the single entry championship. Friday was just filled with excursions, whatever you want to do. Saturday we had the brunch and the cornhole tournament, and then Sunday was the main event, and then the after party with Ludacris concert. So, what was your favorite part? What was the greatest part of the trip for you?
So might not have been the greatest part, but talking to all the people that necessarily weren't the pros. I know we hung out with a bunch of people that weren't, number one, top 10 DFS people, but were there just that they won it off. There was one guy that won it off the Titans app. He didn't get an entry into the live final, but got there off winning some contest. So he got everything paid for, and he was just living it up. Um, there's a couple other people that, again, they said themselves they weren't very, they weren't pros. They're here just to have a good time. So just the vibe of the place really was what set me off.
Yeah, everyone's so friendly. At least the people we spoke to, lots of good camaraderie, and even the people that we met that along the way were cheering for me and in my lineup near the end there. So that was cool too. So yeah, lots of fun. The people were awesome, and then McNabb and Dornbos, those guys, the guys who hosted the event were incredible too.
Yeah, McNabb. When I read the itinerary, I thought McNabb was only going to be there's one golfing event. They're like golf with Donovan McNabb, and I'm like, this is gonna be bullshit. He's gonna be there for like 10 minutes. But no, he was lit like the whole time at the resort. You could walk up to him, say what's up. I know FanDuel did a lot of interviews. I know your buddy Jim was down there from back in your number fire days. So it was good to catch up with him. Yeah, and then John Dornbos was probably the greatest guy I've ever met in terms of magician wise. Um, and this may have been just because of the open bar that accumulated to this, but he was doing magic tricks. I was like, Jesus Christ, what the hell? Like, this guy's a literal magician. But
No,
no,
his tricks were unbelievable, especially like kind of on the spot too, because Thursday night we had the rain, like it was an outdoor event and it just started raining,
mhm.
and FanDuel had to scramble, have a backup plan, and to kill time, Dornbos just set up a table and started doing magic for everyone. He was just crushing these tricks. It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
I know the best one I saw was like uh, there was one dude where it was like a little kid, maybe like a 10, 12-year old or whatever, and he gave him a deck of cards. He's like, all right, take your deck, or like pick a card, and it was like 7 of spades or something like that. Crumpled it up and just threw it on the other side of the room. He's like, all right, now snap, and he snapped and turned the top card over, and it was the card that the 7 of spades. I was like, But no, and this isn't promotional hype, but he was selling his books. I got his book right here. Knocked through a couple pages, got it autographed. Life is Magic basically goes through his life story. If you like reading, like Perseverance, definitely go ahead and give that a read. It's a really good book so far.
Yeah, he like I said, him and McNabb both were just super cool dudes the whole weekend. And yeah, him giving out the book was just another aspect of it. So yeah, I mean, just an incredible time all around. And then it just culminated in the championship day and the Ludacris concert afterwards. And getting second place just made the concert that much better.
Yeah, the concert was fun. One funny thing was, for those who don't know, Ludacris has a song like "I Got Hoes" across different area codes. He sang that song and asked the winner of the championship, the fan championship, was like, "What are you gonna do?" And he had his wife and 3 kids, and he's like, "I'm gonna get hoes," and it was like, "Yeah!"
The whole place just went nuts.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as we transition into some more analysis, if you guys are here, definitely go ahead and comment if you have questions about the trip, about the strategy, about the lineups. Let's jump right into it. So, in addition to the live final, you also had a couple of entries into the fan championship online as well, correct?
Yeah, I had I think it was 27 entries to the fan championship, which was a contest that we were imploring people to try to qualify for. It's one of the better GPPs there is, especially on FanDuel. It's one of the most realistic chances at $1 million, and the fact that you get 3 months to try to qualify gives you a chance at multiple tickets. It's $250 entry fee, 16,000 or so entrants. I ended up with 26 tickets. Did okay, did pretty well. I had one lineup that got close, but all in all, definitely glad I qualified. I know a lot of our members qualified for it, and were profitable as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So if we take a look here, I think this is the right one. Yeah, so for your fan championship, you had 27 tickets, little under 6K in satellites for 6,600 in winnings. You had a plus 10% ROI, which, hey, for anybody that is anybody, that's still good. Plus 10% is pretty solid, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, so spent nearly $6,000 trying to get tickets, which is actually more than I thought. I thought I spent a little less. I think I went ham that last week trying to get tickets. So, and then yeah, I got back 6,600 in the actual event, which was profit of just about $600. So yeah, not bad. Could have been a lot better, but I think for most people entered and won tickets, especially at the lower buy-in levels, were probably profitable.
Yeah, I know. I think it was Bismo who had 6 tickets. A couple of our other members had tickets. I know Chris, I think, had a couple. Yeah, so if you can get it in for for the ticket amount or less, then you're doing pretty good.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I think I got in for just under the ticket amount, so it actually wasn't as big of a discount for me. But again, I was going ham.
Yeah, but you were able to spread it out over multiple weeks. So let's say if instead of spending $250, you could spend, let's say, $10 and use another $40 on other entries.
Right, exactly. I mean, yeah, it's not like I spent 6K at one time, which
Yeah.
is the point of satellites too.
Exactly. And Lucas, our college football writer, has a question. Says, how do you keep track of satellite spendings? Do you use Excel? And I think you've been on record before to use your own Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, I use my own sheet. I try to use the Roto Grinders free app, and I think that's a good free tool for a lot of people where you can upload. However, the way they keep track of satellites doesn't work very well.
Mhm.
So yeah, for this particularly, I had to use my own spreadsheet just to keep track. Just sort by contest name, figure out which ones were fan championship qualifiers, and then just add up from there.
Makes sense. Yep. And then on to the big boy, the live final. Let's see how you did there. So you had 2 entries into that. You spent 11K in satellites trying to do it, and you won $270,000 for a 23.54% ROI. That is a little bit better than what you did in the fan champ.
Just a little bit, just 2,344% better.
Yeah.
Not bad. But I think a couple things here. I barely tried to qualify. I think it was like 4 or 5 weeks I tried to qualify for this tournament, and spent $11,000 trying to qualify. I was fortunate enough to win 2 entries on the same weekend, and that's one of the biggest reasons we tell people not to try to qualify for these, because unless you have a huge bankroll, And even then, when you do, they are massive, massive bankroll drainers because, $11,000 in interest, I could have not won any tickets to the contest.
Mm-hmm.
You're guaranteed 10K for each. Last place gets $10,000. So if I'd only won one ticket and min cashed, I would have lost money. And this is in the top 0.001% of outcomes that people will try to qualify for live finals. So, however, it's kind of like the Millie Maker Moose, where it's like it's a bad investment, but for the fun aspect of it, like the Millie Maker, $10 or $20 that chance at $1 million, or this live final experience, it's kind of worth a negative EV if you're not taking DFS too seriously, for casual players. But again, you have to really pick your spots here, and it's really tough to qualify. You figure, especially on FanDuel, the tickets are worth, like, I think the entry is $25,000.
Yeah.
If you could directly buy in, much more on DraftKings with their bigger prize pool. So just think about how hard it would be to win that type of ticket, and it really makes it difficult.
I will say, though, that it was absolutely positive EV for me because I was free. I did not have to spend a single cent on this, and all that was yours. I was just along for the ride.
So yeah, the actual pro move here is to buddy up with someone who tries to qualify.
Yes, that's the move right there. So let's get this off the screen. What you have here in the background now are Brian's 2 entries here on FanDuel, and you went. One got 27th and one got 2nd. With both entries, you went 3-by-1, which in an 80-person field, at first thought, may not have been, the most optimal. May not have been someone's first choice of doing that. What was your approach for this?
Yeah, so every week on the $1 Million Mission, we talk about game stacking. And for those who don't know, 3-by-1 simply means you have 3 players, the quarterback plus two other offensive players from one team. Then you have another offensive player from the team that they're facing. So you have 4 guys from the same game, 3 from one side, 1 from the other. Gives incredible correlation. And I pretty much exclusively do 3-by-1 stacks on FanDuel when I'm 150 max in GPPs. Over the course of our $1 Million Missions, we've had people ask how much game stacking is too much. When should you reduce it? And we've always said, on FanDuel, unless some guy's really cheap or some other extenuating circumstances, generally you only need to do a 2-by-1 stack, 2 guys from one side, one on the other, in a 100-player league or smaller contest.
Yeah.
Right. So this is the equivalent basically of a 100-player league. However, the fact that I knew that there would be super sharp players in this contest, and there were, and I think 7 of the top 10 spots were the top 10 DFS players. I knew that scores would be higher than a normal 80-person field, and I need as much upside as possible.
Correct.
So I went 3-by-1 in both, even though a normal 100-player league would dictate that you don't need to correlate that much.
Yeah, no. And real quick, Jake comes in and says, next year we need to bring a cornhole hustler to the trip.
I should have brought my dad. My dad crushes cornhole, and I don't know. I actually just need a cornhole partner and then someone to replace me for cornhole because I suck at cornhole too. So my dad may have been able to carry the team. He may have moose, but again, I'm not very good at it.
Yeah, and for those who don't understand the reference, FanDuel was really awesome about this. They had a cornhole tournament where all the entrants could have and their guests could have played, and the winner got an entry into the fan championship.
Yeah, I mean, awesome. what a great idea! Like the 2 guys we met who won final packages through the Tennessee Titans app. They as part of that package, they didn't get an entry into the live final. They just get to experience everything. They got entries into the single game championship, and then they got to go to all the parties and whatnot.
And the dude, real quick, the guy who off the Tennessee Titans app got first place on the Thursday showdown slate.
Yes, not only did they win there for free through the Tennessee Titans app, his guest got an extra $2,900 on top of it.
Yeah,
which was incredible. Then FanDuel throws this cornhole tournament, gives these guys another free chance at two $250 tickets. So it was funny because we were in the pool. Fiance and I were like, I don't know if we're gonna play the cornhole tournament. And these 2 dudes, the Tennessee Titan dudes, come up and like, yo, did you see the prize for the cornhole tournament? You get free fan championship tickets. I was like, say no more. I'm in.
So again, you mentioned, so you went 3-by-1. Again, higher upside because there's a lot sharper players in here. And that really notices with the ownership. And I went painstakingly basically went through every single 80 person's lineup page. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over to that spreadsheet now. And I'll be posting this on my Twitter, so go ahead and follow me at CFB_Moose as we switch over here. This is every person's entry into the FanDuel Live Final. There's also another tab for the DraftKings Live Final that was happening on the same day as well. Basically shows the username, the number of entries they had in that contest, how much they won, their individual lineup, and points, ownership, salary, what type of stacks they did, the flex position, and
basically all the kind of lineup construction stuff that we've backtested and looked at to help develop our 150 max strategies.
Yep. And then when you go and view on here as well, there's another tab that you can get each player's individual exposure. So I sort by top owned guy, and the top owned guy you had both in both of your lineups, and you really talked about this dude a lot. Was Chris Carson at 72.5% ownership. Take me through your process on him. It seems like, oh, that's not the right tab I wanted to be on. Talk me through your process on him. It seemed like anybody who was on this guy.
Yeah. So obviously he's in a smash spot with no Rashad Penny, facing the league's worst run defense, 7-point favorite. Game total had moved up. Like all the stars aligned for Chris Carson. And it reflected in a pros contest where he's 72% owned. If you go back to the FanDuel Players tab, you'll see that in my top lineup, I had Chris Carson, Saquon Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
As we've talked about before, just jam in high-owned running backs, high-volume running backs. Don't worry about ownership. As you'll see, Chris Carson, Saquon Barkley, the two highest-owned guys of the entire live final, and both were in my winning roster. I still had enough low-owned guys around them to differentiate to give myself a chance at winning, which ended up happening.
Yeah, and think about it. So you had Chris Carson, Saquon Barkley, 72.5%, 42.6% owned respectively. But if you go back and look at, I'm going to highlight his row here. Look at your total ownership. You had 208% total ownership. But look at everyone else around you. You were the lowest owned of any of the top 10 up until I think 12 or 13th or something like that.
That's pretty interesting, actually. I didn't realize that after the fact, but that is surprising. Yeah, that's interesting. And the guys who carried that for me were Curtis Samuel, 3.8%. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's one of a handful of guys that use him. Tyler Lockett, I think, was 10%. And the Eagles' defense was 4%. So. Yeah. Lucas says in the chat, how fitting is it that the New England defense cost us again this year? The guy in first place had New England's defense. However, I can't really complain because the Eagles defense got a fumble 6 on the last play of the game.
Yeah.
So I'm in no spot to complain about defensive scoring.
Yeah. And as Jake says, the double tight end for the guy in third place.
Bro.
So FanDuel, I believe it was, what was it? Let me look at it here. Yeah, so it was 3.75% of entries had a tight end at flex on FanDuel, which, respective, that's kind of like what it is. However, if you look on DraftKings, the live final, 16 2/3 of all entries had a tight end in the flex, which is just absolutely mind-boggling.
Yeah, that's really surprising to me. I know there were a couple tight ends that stood out this week, Higbee and Waller in particular, but that's even nuts for the DraftKings 180 player live final.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and another thing we talked about was stacks. If you look here, of the top, what is that? Top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 of the top 6, including you, had a 3x1 stack on FanDuel.
I don't think it's that surprising. Look at who those guys were. Osimo, Chipotle Addict. Who else was in the top there, Moose?
Matt D.
Who was super cool, and I felt bad for him because Matt D was in first after the Chris Conley touchdown, and the FanDuel cameras just swarmed this dude. It's like, you're in first. And he's like, dude, there's like 10 minutes left. What are you guys doing? Like, I'm not the champion yet. And of course, he didn't end up being the champion. So, but still super cool for him. I think it was his biggest score ever. So, I mean, that was awesome to see.
Yeah, I figured one entry, got third out of it. That's really awesome.
Yeah, congrats to him.
Yep. And speaking of the double tight end, it's Helmu's father, who is a subscriber here, Twitch Prime subscriber. For those who don't know, if you do subscribe to Occupy Fantasy, you get access to our Discord channel, where we're doing basically the same thing we're doing now, but a lot more often when we don't have time to set up the studio to do a live stream. His question is double tight end viable this weekend? Whoever the tight end is playing Arizona in a chalky one?
Yeah, I still don't think so, just because of the upside. Jacob Hollister for Seattle is playing against Arizona this week. I imagine he'll be really popular. We'll see. I haven't dug too much into this slate yet for this upcoming weekend. Still doing a lot of recap and review. I think that this should go to show people, like, dude, even though I just won a lot of money, my focus has been reviewing what I did and what others did around me,
Mm-hmm.
to see if I can improve in any way. Like, I want it first so badly. It's like, okay, how can I make this happen next year? Did I just get luckier, or what did I did? What I did, was that correct? And I think we've come to the conclusion was that what I did was correct. Really optimal strategy. So yeah.
Yeah, and if you look here across the 80 entries that were in this contest, I know it's a small sample size, just 1 week, one contest. But look, people who've done a stack with over 10% share, so the 2-0, 2x1. If you did a 2x stack, you got around 132 points, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
You did a 3x stack, you get another basically 16 points. You're up to 148.
Yep.
That just shows that upside right there.
Right.
And again, those extra points, it's not good for low risk, but for high risk, you need that extra correlation to pop yourself up and go up a couple spots.
Yeah, and even though, I mean, the 1x1 stack had a ton of points, but I think like 1 or 2 people had it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a bell curve, right? Like, it becomes a point where it's not optimal to keep stacking, and I think that number's 4 on FanDuel.
Yeah,
like
there was
one side.
There was I believe 2 entries who did a 4x1 stack, which just
Chipotle Addict had a 4x1 Lion stack, which was absolutely mind blowing to me.
But I was talking about it with Chris, our writer. Not to put you on the spot there, Chris, but maybe if you have, I think you have 4 or 5 entries. Maybe it makes sense to take one lineup and go mad contrarian in case if something like that does pop off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's what he did. I mean, Chipotle Addict definitely knows what he's doing. So, I'm sure that played into it, having the number of lineups he did.
Absolutely, yeah.
Also, Lucas in the chat does mention, it's tilting that I think the top guy had Gurley in the running back spot and Saquon in the flex spot. However, and it's still not 100% clear to me, but what I understood, there is no late swap in the live final anyways, to prevent. I don't think it's to prevent anything. It's really just to keep keep everyone on a level playing field. Like, not everyone may be able to swap since we're at this event. I think that's why. So if they started an early guy in the flex instead of a late guy, it's not as big of a deal here because I don't think you can late swap. So.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so real quick, talking about your technically late swap, like right before kickoff, you decided to actually change this lineup that you got in second place, right?
I did. It was a Sunday morning. I made my 2 live final lineups Saturday morning, and I was only going to change them. At least I thought, barring injury news. But then, I was Sunday morning. I logged in DFS Magic, started making my fan championship lineups, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, wait. I normally end up, especially on a week like this past week where there were like just a shit ton of underperforming wide receivers. I was like, on those types of weeks, I generally have a receiver in flex. And I've only been using running back in flex, or DFS Magic's been putting running backs in flex when there are like 4 or 5 guys in really good spots as running backs. This week, I didn't think that was the case.
Yeah.
But there were a couple, Carson and Barkley particularly. So I had Fournette in the flex originally, 3 running backs. So I was like, oh, FanDuel, 80-person field, blah, blah. I was like, wait, I need to shoot for upside. Why not get one of the best receivers in the game, underperforming receiver, against 2 backup cornerbacks in a game total that's moved up like 2.5 points into my flex spot? I thought he had way higher upside than Fournette. So Sunday morning, I ended up making the swap, and it ended up being like a 25-point difference.
Yeah. And, sorry, just blinked my mind right there what I was about to say. Yes. So, as we talked about, the underperforming wide receivers, the joke around the car ride home was they're literally cheat codes.
Yeah.
So,
dude, for real.
So, for those who don't know, the underperforming wide receivers basically takes opportunity, converts it into like a metric. We use that and say, hey, these people have been getting the opportunities over the last 3 weeks. They're due for touchdowns. It's not that simple formula, but what was the underperforming wide receivers that you had on your lineup?
Jared literally had 4. Chris wrote about it in the Daily Plug. He's like, Brian used this strategy on FanDuel to get to the live final, and kind of hinted that I would also use this exact strategy in the live final, and I did. He even said it's even better if you can stack the guys. So Tyler Lockett, Curtis Samuel. Tyler Lockett was our #1 underperforming wide receiver, so I had to get him in a stack. Curtis Samuel was there, so now I have a 3-by-1 game stack with 2 underperforming receivers in it. Julio was there. Chris Conley was there. And actually, Darren Waller just missed the list. So literally 5 guys.
Yeah.
I had Waller in both lineups and Conley in both lineups. Conley was too cheap, especially if he was underperforming. Waller, I thought, was just in an absolute incredible spot. So I put both those guys in my lineup, in both lineups.
And then just running back with model plays, like you said, 2 really good running backs, Chris Carson, Saquon Barkley. Russell Wilson was the #1 quarterback in the model, I believe.
Yep.
So that's right there. And it was funny because you were like, this lineup is just going to crush. It's my favorite lineup of anything.
I told you Sunday morning. I was like, I have my first lineup I made. This one was by far my favorite. My second one I like too, but definitely not as much as this one. And if I only had 1 entry, this would have been the lineup I used. So
yeah,
no big deal.
Yep. Helmy's father has another question. I know it's a little bit earlier in the week, but he says, is there any game you're fading this weekend because you anticipate them having little to play for?
No, it's always tough to judge motivation. And I think if you use that as a factor, it can really impact your process. Maybe certain positions on teams, certain players you might fade. High volume guys on teams that have nothing to play for, guys with injuries. But as far as games go, no. And in fact, some of these game stacks with teams that have nothing to play for can really help you win in these later week GPPs and leagues and satellites.
Yep. All right. So, any other comments you want to talk about for FanDuel? Anything right now?
Just a crazy jump, right? I mean, going into the 4th quarter, I was down 20 or 30 points.
Yeah.
I was in 10th place. Conley scores twice. Julio scores again. Waller gets a couple catches. It was just an incredible jump, an incredible sweat. And if the Rams had taken their starters out down 40 points, I would have gotten first. But again, cannot complain. Getting 2nd place in this tough of a field. To be honest, I'm not even a real human. The money doesn't. I don't even it hasn't even fazed me. I don't even care remotely about that, to be honest. I just wanted to prove that I could hang with the top pros in the game, that I could beat them, that my strategy works, that our strategy works, that our Occupy model can compete with the best, and meet some cool people along the way. And it did. 2nd place. I wanted first so badly. I don't know, this is probably stupid, but if they swapped, there's you could have the belt title 1st place, but you only get 250 instead of 500. Would you take it? I'd probably take it for the glory, but also probably not. But again, I really wanted to show that we could do this and I say we because all of us, Occupy community, you, our staff, all of us involved are part of this, and I think we showed that.
Yeah, definitely. Jake has a question. He says, how much were you sweating that late Julio TD call?
Super sweating. FanDuel captured it all on video. So me and Paulie Shorts, the guy in 1st place, we were standing next to each other in front of the Atlanta game for the final 2 minutes. And there were about 10 cameras on us this entire time recording our reactions. So they got everything. And also, Bobby Tuggs, who was one of my guests that came with us, recorded a shit ton during the entire weekend. We're going to make a video out of it. So even if you don't see FanDuel's video, see our video with the reactions. But to say the least, it was certainly a sweat.
Yeah. And as K Banks says, it was obviously a touchdown on replay. But at first thought, we were like, oh, God, we don't know.
On live, I was like, I don't know, it's close. But then they showed the replay. I was like, oh, this isn't much of a sweat at all. And then Paulie Shorts was like, yo, that's definitely a touchdown. But at that point, the Rams drive was just starting, and our focus was immediately turned towards theirs. Like, oh shit, are the Rams players catching passes? And they were, and it kept them in 1st place. So
I know. And then what I thought was interesting because, like I said, you were about 2.25 points away from first. And once I saw that Matt Ryan was staying on the field for the 2-point conversion, I was like, oh, shit, you might have a chance to take this. And then just kneel. I was like, oh, that sucks.
And yeah, like Chris says, got bailed out on Hooper. I thought they could have kept the call on the field. It wasn't very clear to me that he didn't have full control of the pass before. But there was a lot of cheering when they overturned that.
Looks like IRH got a message deleted for symbols.
LRH, that's our boy Leon. Yeah.
Oh, Leon. Yeah, I'm not sure what the thing was, but if you could repost it without symbols, that'd be awesome.
It was just he just posted some emojis. I don't know why
Oh,
Nightbot got. I'll post it up.
Nightbot's dumb. K Banks says that touchdown dropped me from first to third in a $5 single entry.
That
Ooh,
sucks. Damn.
damn. Lucas has a good question. It says, obviously this will be further discussed in the NFL plug later in the week, but with a 3-game slate Saturday versus the typical Sunday slate, how do you like tackle that? Is it gonna? I guess it's gonna be the same as Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's very similar to Thanksgiving. We're probably better off asking Jack from DFS Magic. I don't think I play that well on 3-game slates.
Mm-hmm.
Jack's 2 big wins, 50K and 20K, have come on 3-game and 4-game slates. So maybe we ask him about it because, yeah, I don't know. I think it's still the similar concept, and maybe you don't stack as much.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like you said, I might not even play the full 3-game slate just because I don't feel as confident in my abilities. So we'll talk to Jack and see if we get some input for Saturday's plug.
Absolutely, yeah. So, real quick, I do want to take a look at the DraftKings Live Final.
Yeah.
Someone I was actually looking did a 4x2 stack, which,
damn,
again, sounds just like way too much for me. Yeah, you basically have to have the craziest, like highest scoring game ever there.
4x2, that's nuts. Damn.
Yeah, and so looking at some of the top plays, kind of around the same. Chris Carson at 49%, Saquon at 42%. But there was a lot more people. I think it was 180 people on the DraftKings contest here.
What surprised me was Patrick Laird's ownership in both contests. Like, this wasn't a joke slate. This was a real slate where 25% of the field in both contests played Patrick Laird. That was super surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, at 4,500, maybe I guess you could make the case as an island play for him, but not.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. Lions Junkie, who was a guy we met out there who qualified,
Mm-hmm.
he was talking to someone, or maybe it was, I can't remember who it was. Maybe it wasn't Lions Junkie, but someone was talking to the guy in the top 10 at some point, and they were talking about their lineups, and the guy in the top 10 was like, "Oh, I'd never play that guy." It's like, okay, cool. It's the last thing you want to hear when you're sitting in like 78th place.
Yeah, 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 and I'm not going to name names, but there was one guy who was out there. We were talking to. He was a really good time, and we asked him like, "Hey, what about your lineup? How are you going to do it?" And he's like, "Dude, I don't even really know what the hell I'm doing." He's like, "I'm just here to have a great time. Yep. I know all these guys are way better than me. I have no tools really to go with. I barely qualified. He won a qualifier to a qualifier, yep, and then took that home. But hey, he had a hell of a time, and he still literally last place was $10,000. So he was like, "Hey, I'm cool with that."
Yeah, the way we were talking to some people was like, "Yo, you got paid $10K to come to Puerto Rico, have an awesome weekend, and get a private Ludacris concert. Like, come on."
Yeah, absolutely. And for those who don't know, Trojan was hosting an exclusive after party with the Trojan models, which we did not go to because we had a flight in like 4 hours.
Yeah, because when I think of top DFS players and spreadsheet nerds, I think Trojan condom parties.
I did get called a spreadsheet nerd too, by the way.
You did out there?
Yeah, I did. I did get called by one of the person's guests, like as a
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. She's
yeah,
like, so you're the data spreadsheet nerd guy that handles all this. I was like, I guess if you such want to say.
Check back up with us on Sunday.
I know, right?
But that was actually the cool thing though. Like, I know we talked about at the top, but like meeting all these people Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, after all this happens and I finished second, like all the people coming up to congratulate me that we met throughout the weekend was super cool. And like, that just shows the quality of the folks that were there. No one was bitter. No one was, hating. Like, this was a good group of men and women that were just genuinely happy for people that they met. So that was cool.
Yeah. No one was really salty at anything. I do want to, take a look at the DraftKings Live Final. The guy who won in first, I believe, is X, or is he still a poker player?
Yeah, he's a professional poker player.
Okay. Yeah, and so I don't really know the whole backstory of it. I didn't really recognize the username. But he did an interesting Greg Ward, Boston Scott stack, which,
yeah.
Again, hey, two cheap guys. There's a little bit of upside there with the same team. Running back Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
I mean, it allowed you to fit in two good studs with McCaffrey and Barkley.
right. I mean, it's hard to hate the lineup because he won $2 million with it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing: you got a 2-0 stack, Mahomes Hill, not bad. That's fine. McCaffrey, Barkley, two high-owned running backs, great. Chris Conley, underperforming receiver, great. Higbee, great spot for a tight end. Patriots defense literally is always going to score touchdowns, so I get that. I don't know, risky play. I wouldn't have personally done it. I think it was more lucky than good. But again, I don't want to be a hater and say that. Like, this dude made this lineup. He won $2 million with it. Fucking unreal. So congrats to him. The article I was reading today about him was that, he's always been trying to get a 7-figure cash. He's never done it in poker. And then here he comes in the live final and hits for $2 million. So big ups to him.
Yeah. As Chris points out, and, we were talking about the lineup earlier as well. It makes sense. It makes sense. Eagles a injury decimated team. $6K for two guys that I believe both were $3K each. Both were going to go stupid low owned. So if that pops off, then you're probably going to be the only person that has that combination that's going to shoot you up.
Right. What, Moose? It's almost like an NBA situation where the team is decimated and you're playing, backup guys who are getting the start at minimum price.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of what this was. Like, even though they're not necessarily correlated together, their opportunity was to have a big increase based on what a normal game for Philly would be based on all the guys out.
Exactly. So. Yep. And hey, one entry took it all down. That's pretty sick.
Yeah, you'll see here, just filled with pros at the top of this one. Mr. Good Seats, a pro, had 6 entries. Peter Gibbons, pro, 6 entries. Osmo, pro, 5 entries. Two Gun, who is the only 3-time $1 million NFL DFS player, 5 entries.
Mm-hmm.
Chipotle, 3 entries. I think 6 furlongs a pro. Yeah, Peter Gibbons again. Chess is okay, a top 10 player. Like, just a ridiculous field here. So he beat all of those guys. So props to him.
Yeah, and shout out to Osmo. He finished 4th in the DK Live Final, and then ran it back with what was it? Yeah, 5th and 6th in the FanDuel one. So
yeah,
obviously a pretty good payday for him there.
Yeah, great work by Osmo, who is the #1 DFS player in the world. So no surprise really when you see that. Also, Jake mentions in the chat about the poker player. Wait, is anyone not looking for a 7-figure cash? Yeah, good point.
That's true. Yeah, and I see we got BKSA here in the chat. What's up, BK? Glad to have you here.
Yeah.
We'll be here for maybe about 5 more minutes or so. So again, guys, if you're here, definitely go ahead and ask us about whether it's the process we did, any of the excursions, about Jeff the Parrot. For those who don't know, there was a parrot outside the resort that every day at like 7:30 a.m. because his wings got clipped, I assume, would just yell loud as fuck.
Yeah, Jeff the Parrot. Oh man.
Yeah.
Like you said yesterday, it's kind of quiet now without Jeff the Parrot.
I know. One other thing I thought was interesting was the resort had some stray dogs.
Super Puerto Rican.
I know. So we were just chilling here, and then dog would just come up to you, pet it half the time. Chris brings up a good point. Says, "Are you trying for the DK main event at all this week?" I don't. I'm going to be transparent. I don't really know much about it. Is it that tournament this week?
Yeah. So it's on Sunday. It's $1,500 to enter. It's like 3,700 entries. It's 111 max. So to max this contest, it's like $167,000. I've been trying to qualify. I was trying to get tickets for it. I have been unsuccessful in that quest. So I don't know. To be honest, I haven't been keeping a lot of money on DraftKings. I haven't hit anything big over there, really.
Mm-hmm.
So given the Maryland restrictions, I don't even know if I could get $167,000 on the DraftKings to max that contest. I might throw a couple bullets in there. We'll see. I haven't decided just yet.
See, man, you're a hot shot now. You should talk to the Maryland legislature. Be like, hey, can you rescind that law that I can only deposit like $5,000 at a time in Maryland or something?
Yeah, that's how elites do it, right? They just go talk to lawmakers to get shit done that they want.
Yeah.
I guess I should take advantage of it.
Yeah, BK, we didn't get a tan. I don't know why. I guess we just didn't spend so much time outside. I will
Even
say,
so, like the sun wasn't like, it was cloudy. It was hard to get a tan there. I mean, no one really got sunburned, which was weird.
yeah, it definitely was. I will say we tried to go into San Juan, and the GPS was like, oh, it's like 16 miles away. But then took you like legit 15 minutes to get out of the resort. Our Uber car broke down. I was like,
Oh yeah,
Jesus
it was a
Christ.
disaster in general. But yeah, also it was a DFS weekend, so I was inside a lot on the
Yeah,
computer too. So there was a big reason why I didn't get a tan.
exactly. Yeah, definitely. Um,
But yeah, to Chris's point about the DK main event,
mhm.
there are some really good, at least for me, like my bankroll level, there are some really good GPPs this weekend. But even for smaller bankrolls, there's a couple 3 max and 5 max that are really nice that I think people should play.
Yeah.
So Chris will definitely point those out in the plug, and there's even some good ones on Saturday too. So
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. When yeah, I've actually been playing a little bit more FanDuel than normal. I hit that basically min cash and the single game championship, I guess whatever the hell it would be called, and
yeah,
not a bankroll booster per se, but it was a nice little hit. Not gonna lie.
I mean, dude, the joke with our group at least, and some of the other people too, at the event was like, hey, you got paid $100 to go to Puerto Rico
Yeah.
because you won the free roll. You got $100 in the free roll.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I know your fiance that came here had the number one lineup and then switched it last minute.
Guess
R.I.P.
who told her to switch?
You.
Yeah. So she was like, "Why do people pay you for advice?" I was like, all right, cool. people people only remember the negative swaps. So
Yeah.
whatever. She got paid $200 instead of $2,900 coming to Puerto Rico. So,
Yeah. And I appreciate the kind words from Helmy's father. Says you're a beast, boys. Congrats. Yeah.
thanks.
Thanks, man. Here for another minute or so. Let's get some questions in. If you like what we do here, guys, and you want to support us, go ahead and hit that follow button at the top right. You'll get notified of when we go live in the future. If you want to go ahead and subscribe, you can use Amazon Prime, get it for free. Get access to our Discord channel, where
Yeah.
we just chat it up, do a lot of different things. I run some ad hoc data analysis stuff for people as well. I know, just a quick example, one of our members, Paul, was in the chat, wanted to know what lineups had the best chance of hitting it unique, like third way in the quarter of the showdown last night. Ran his lineup, say, hey, here's what you need, here's what the root for. It was pretty cool. Just that was more of me just touting my services.
Yeah. But yeah, that's just some of the perks of being in the Discord channel. And couple comments here most before we get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
K Banks says he won a $1,500 entry to NBA tomorrow on a $1 satellite,
Nice.
which is insane.
Yeah.
Congrats, man. Yeah, if you want to talk strategy, definitely hit us up. We'll certainly talk to you. Especially our NBA guys, Garrett and Tommy, will certainly help you.
Yeah. Like I said, you have looks like you're a Prime or a subscriber. So definitely go ahead. Don't be afraid to ask in the Discord. Check it on the website. If you don't have access to the Discord link and you are a subscriber, reach out to us. Hit us up on Twitter at Occupy Fantasy. Message us on here, and we'll definitely go ahead and help you out.
Yep, exactly. And K Banks just subscribe with Twitch Prime, so I appreciate that. K Banks, thank you for doing that. If you go to if you log into Discord and connect your Twitch account to your Discord account, on that connections tab, you should see the server pop up. If you don't, send us a message on Twitter and we'll get you situated.
Definitely. Jake, DK seems tougher than FanDuel this week. Any guess on why?
This year, he says, and yeah, my results say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Have to do a post-season review to kind of see what's going on there. But I agree with you.
Yep. BKSA, is there a game limit for college football bowl season? I honestly don't know. You'd have to ask Lucas on that one.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know.
As Lucas says, yeah, the bowl season starts Friday. We'll have a Friday college football plug. Lucas is on it, so should be good.
Yeah, and we're like the underperforming wide receivers that Brian used to get second place in here. We're running that back with college football, so we'll have some underperforming wide receivers on that list as well. And I see Polfin here. I believe he said that he was in the live final as well. I'm curious to see how how you did. He says, "What's your advice on building 150 lineups? I'm good at single entry, but suck at 150s." I know that's kind of a short. Like we don't have enough time to cover the whole thing. But any couple sentences to help him out?
I think he's a member and has access to DFS Magic, so that's your first place to start. It's no simple answer. The best bet for you is to go back and listen to all of our previous $1 million missions. They're on YouTube. So YouTube, if you just Google or search Occupy Fantasy on YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can see all of the previous week's $1 million missions where we literally talk about 150 strategy every single week. I think the just high level points: stack as much as you can, play high owned running backs, play underperforming receivers, limit your player pool significantly. I think that's where a lot of people go wrong.
Yeah.
Your best bet is to limit to 40 to 50 to 60 guys at most.
Yeah, and I think the toughest thing is a couple things. You might be doing the right process, but things might not go your way. So it's hard to determine what if you're not doing things right or if you're just getting unlucky.
Right.
And then it's not going to take 10, 15, 20 minutes, a couple hours. You're going to need several hours, several different things to try it out. If you do play FanDuel, I recommend you try the 150 lines with the pooch punt. I know that may be like completely below your bankroll, but better to drain 750 than 750.
Exactly. 100% right, Moose.
Yep, absolutely. And as BKSA was mentioning, how many games for the college football plug? And as Lucas points out, we're going to have a plug for 3+ game slates, as well as the periodic Twitch streams. Showdown and 2-game slates are still up in the air for now, besides this Friday. Yeah, we're going to try and get some Twitch streams in. I know it's kind of tough with NFL playoffs going around, but we're at least going to get a couple in. Don't hold us to it, though.
Yeah, just follow us on Twitter. Definitely follow Lucas. He'll be posting updates as far as scheduling goes. So follow Lucas on Twitter. And, that'll be your best bet for knowing when the plugs are happening.
Absolutely, yep. So that being said, I am the host Moose at CFB_Moose. I'm from OccupyFantasy.com alongside Brian Jester FF on Twitter. Go ahead and give us a follow, thumbs up, subscribe, bell notification, follow, all that other kind of stuff. And as Paul says, he normally does around 70 to 80 players, which I believe we think is a little bit too high for 150 max.
Yeah, I'll tell you just real quick. I use anywhere from, I personally use 4 to 6 quarterbacks. I know other people use more. For me, it's like 4 to 6 quarterbacks, like 10 running backs, 15, 20 receivers, 5 or 6 tight ends, 5 or 6 defenses, and that's it for me.
Yeah, definitely. Because at that point, you're getting too diverse that at that point you almost need island plays to kind of like.
It's hard to hit the right combo when you have that many players.
Exactly. Yeah. So, all right, we're gonna get out of here. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all that other kind of stuff. OccupyFantasy.com is where you can find us. That being said, I'm Moose alongside Brian. Peace out. Have a good night.